success can be such a brutal, terrible teacher. Thursday, April 21st, 2022. It's episode 212. This is a Token CEO podcast. I'm Erika Nardini, the CEO of Barstool Sports. Mackenzie's out because she's been in Austin and now she has COVID. So we've got Tom Mullins. Tom Mullins, how you doing?
Good.
What's going on?
I don't know. Yeah,
Life's
nothing.
good?
Yeah, life's great.
Did you celebrate Easter?
Yeah, went and saw my parents.
Oh, you did? How was it?
It was good.
So proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you talk about Sunday Conversations when you're with your parents?
I give them like a pre-screening of it,
Oh,
actually.
you do?
Yeah.
Like in the group chat with your family, or like you just email your mother?
No, like on Saturday, I got there and I just showed it to them.
What'd they
Because
think?
they love watching my stuff.
Obviously, who doesn't? The internet loves watching your stuff.
They liked it because I know my dad's obsessed with that show Ridiculousness.
Okay.
And he saw Machine Gun Kelly on there once.
So he was like, my son is looking at Machine Gun Kelly. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think about the interview?
I thought it was good.
I think Caleb is so good. Between that and Advisors, those are my favorite shows here.
Oh, thank you.
Glennie did look great, though.
Yeah,
we should show a picture of that.
Yeah,
Glennie
we
really
went
did
on
look
like
great.
a shopping spree, me and Balls,
Yeah.
before the
Oh,
interview.
you two did?
Yeah, we went to Hot Topic and.
Okay. How was it?
Oh, it was fun.
He looked great.
Yeah.
And his ass tattoo was just so perfectly perfect.
Oh, I know. I didn't know that was happening whatsoever. It was a surprise to me.
Did you know he had it?
He told me before the shoot, like by coincidence. He didn't tell me he was going to be showing it off.
Lenny Balls has people on his ass too.
It's Donkey Kong.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
No, let's see it. Why not? Okay, what the fuck else? Why not? It's Donkey Kong in a Rangers jersey. It's fucking sick.
First ever tattoo you can smell.
It's great. I see it once every few months. I get out of the shower, I see it, I giggle. It's worth it.
So Tom Mullins, thank you for supporting us. We appreciate you. We think you're one of the best we've got.
Thank you.
So we're appreciative. All right, so here's what we're doing today. The first thing we're doing is plugging merch. So business casual. So the ladies invented this. So we're doing Work Like a Girl merch. We've got hats. I've got a Work Like a Girl t-shirt. You can see it here maybe. Excuse my little jelly rolls. Work Like a Girl t-shirt, and we've got business casual sweatshirts. They're awesome, super soft. It looks good. It's embroidered. I think they're wickedly cute. You can get those in the Barstool Sports store, and if you look for Token CEO, you can find all of our stuff in there. And then don't forget to subscribe. So can we point to something? Yep. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. We're YouTubers now. Subscribe to Token CEO on YouTube. Subscribe to anything from Barstool Sports on YouTube. You can watch Sunday Conversation with Tom Mullins. You can watch all of our other stuff, and you can watch Token CEO. All right, so let's start with the Boardroom. One, if there's any sponsors out there who would like to sponsor the Boardroom, I am open. My DMs are open, as they say. So if you would like to sponsor the Boardroom, that's where we talk about what's going on at Barstool Sports, what's happening in my world, things that I'm thinking about. I think it's fairly safe. I don't tend to swear that much in this segment. Great way to be at the top of an episode. So if you would like to sponsor the Boardroom, you can just DM us and we'll take your call or we'll take your message. All right, so what's going on in my world? One, I'm back to the running. So I'm back to the 2 miles a day plan. I'm this week trying to do 5 times a week, 2 miles a day. I have been thinking a lot about Barstool and really kind of deconstructing like how did we get to where we are right now? I think we're at this really interesting place where we've had so much success over the last 6 years. Like every quarter we beat the last quarter. Like everything seemed possible. Anything was attainable. Like there was nothing this company couldn't do. And actually that is what makes Barstool Sports so special. Like that is the DNA of Barstool Sports. But what's been really interesting about this, and I've talked about this in the past, is that success can be such a brutal, terrible teacher, right? Like if you're running a fish market and every day you sell out a fish, you don't really have to think about how you optimize the fish market or how you price things or how you position the fish and the salmon versus the cod versus the tuna versus the shrimp. Like you don't have to think about any of that. You don't have to think about how you market the fish store. Like you don't. Fish store is such a bizarre analogy, don't you think? But I'm sticking with it. You don't have to think about any of this stuff. And we embodied this like hot, rapid growth company in a sector that is not experiencing rapid growth. Like I can't name another publisher or content company that's had the type of growth that we've had over the past 6 years. It's been exhilarating. It's been electric. It's been so positive. There's just been such incredible momentum. Then COVID hit, and I'm so proud about Barstool Sports in that we still crushed everything during COVID. Like we beat our goals substantially during COVID. What's so interesting to me is that when you have rapid growth, all you can do is feed the growth. Like that's your job as a CEO. That's your job as a manager. That's your job as a leader. That's your job in the company, is like just feed the beast, like feed the engine, feed the engine, feed the engine. And when that growth, dips a little bit or it changes, it really should prompt a whole bunch of questions about, like how is the fish organized? Where do we get the fish from? Is it the fish that people want? Like how do we price it? All those things. And what I'm realizing is that really what COVID did was COVID created a lack of visibility. Two, it masked problems and it created silos. And then the third piece of it is we were hiring a lot of people in that time, and we never indoctrinated them into how we do things. So people were new to Barstool, left to their own devices, built the things that they wanted to build, how they wanted to build them, or people who were at Barstool started to do the things that were interest them and how they wanted to do them. No one checked in on one another. Like I think one of my biggest failings over the last 3 years is that I didn't gel a management team the way I could have and should have. I let people be conflict avoidant. I didn't force conflict or the resolution of problems. I facilitated the building of these fiefdoms. Like I knew in my head and in my heart, like this is off, but I didn't do enough about it. And I didn't force the issue. One, because we were in a pandemic, in a crisis. Two, because I couldn't like actually touch anyone because we were, for the most part, on Zoom. And now what I'm realizing is like, God, like the calcification that happened in those 2 years at so many companies, the question for people right now is, can you break it? Like, can you fix it? Can you break it? Can you change? Can you evolve? And that's really, what I think we're going through in a massive way. And I like it. I feel like it's such a good challenge for us. Like we're growing so fast. We're still having so much success. We are murdering it on most every definition possible. But I also feel like we're maturing. So it's like, hey, how do we do what we do? Are we doing it the right way? We're bringing in people that are asking smart questions. I'm also realizing that there are people who just don't like change and who only want positivity, which I'm struggling with, to be super honest. Like I had a conversation last week with someone and the results haven't been great. The feedback from the person is like, hey, we got to be positive. And I'm struggling because I'm like, I 100% want to be positive. I think I'm a positive person. I know I can be very harsh. I know I can be relentless and kind of maniacal when there's a problem. Like we will have an interview with Carly Lloyd coming up in a couple weeks. And what she and I were talking about is how people today don't want feedback. Like they don't want to grow. They don't want the criticism. Any type of criticism makes people crumble versus looking at adversity as a chance for growth, for development, for struggle, for an interesting journey, for strife, and then ultimately to surmount something. Like one of the things that I'm excited about for where Barstool is right now is, yeah, it was awesome to win and stunt on everybody for the last 6 years, but winning when it was hard and winning when there were obstacles and winning when I wasn't 100% sure when I'm not 100% sure that we're going to, that makes that win so much better. And that's what I really hope for everyone that they want here. So speaking of that, so I had another conversation this week with someone who works for Twitter. So I was talking to this person who works for Twitter, and I've been obsessed with the Elon Musk thing. So Elon Musk is essentially tweeting a takeover bid for Twitter, right? Wants to buy Twitter for, I think, $54 a share, which is a significant premium from where Twitter is. Much of it is manifested on public stages, which is so cool and interesting, and I think of the time. And then a lot is playing out on Twitter and in polls on Twitter, and there's obviously a big reaction from Twitter employees. There's the panic room that the Twitter board has ensconced itself in. There's the perception of the internet, and then you have all the papers, and the media, which is talking about, does he have the money, the poison pill that Twitter's going to take, where they're not going to let Musk buy more than 15% of the company, and then really speculation on what companies would buy Twitter. So I think it's a very interesting thing happening in media, and also very apropos of the world we live in, which is so much that happens is just public, and it's nonconformist, and it's not necessarily predictable, and it's interactive, right? Elon Musk asking his Twitter followers about what's in the best interest of Twitter shareholders, and if his audience views that his price and his desire to privatize Twitter is a good idea. 83% said yes. That's radical, right? But in the future, everything is going to be like that. So long story short, I started to kind of get obsessed with Elon Musk this weekend. So watched his TED Talk interview with the CEO or the founder of TED. And there were a couple things that were really interesting to me. One, Elon Musk has Asperger's, which I didn't know if people know, but I love that. Like, someone with Asperger's can be the richest man in the world and arguably one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time is awesome. Two is that there's been such a reaction to a billionaire wanting to buy a social network or a media platform. I don't really feel like people had that same reaction when Jeff Bezos bought Washington Post, but there's something visceral about Musk and Twitter. And then the third thing is, when you listen to what Elon Musk wants to do, which is essentially to create transparency in the algorithm and to make the code behind the algorithm crowdsourced or open source, that's a really important statement. Like, that's not a billionaire controlling what people say on Twitter. What he's essentially saying is, let's create transparency with the algorithm. Let's create the town hall. Let's harness the best that there is of Twitter, which is all different opinions in a constant conversation, which is evolving as life events and current events and news and politics and sports and media and culture evolve. Like, that's so interesting. I feel that really acutely at Barstool. Like, we had an incident last weekend where Saturday morning, Gilly texts me, and Gilly's like, "Hey, E-Money, I can't fucking believe it. Like, I'm kicked off of Instagram." And I was like, ugh, I can totally believe it, because Instagram has no context, right? So when Gilly and Wallow, who are cousins and co-hosts of a show, when Gilly gives Wallow shit, Instagram thinks it's bullying. They have no context for the relationship that those two people have, for the intention that Gilly has in what he posts or how he posts it. They just shut him down. Algorithms don't have context, and when algorithms are owned and controlled by a single source without any need for transparency, that means you're at the whim of what those people want. So what's interesting about the Musk thing is people are afraid of exactly the opposite that Musk wants to do. And I think that's really important. We're in a situation right now where we're in jail on Facebook for what feels like, honestly, the 24th month in a row. And we're in jail because we posted a UGC video and the algorithm doesn't like UGC. There wasn't anything wrong with the video. There wasn't anything risque with the video. There wasn't anything controversial with the video. It's just that it was a viral UGC video. And that's where we are as media companies. That's where we are as people. And the idea that someone wants to come into Twitter, which is arguably the most conversant platform out there, and to make that a place where you have transparency in the code, I think that's a really good thing. So I find that there's not a lot of conversation about that. Kind of shocking. The second thing, talking to a Twitter person, is that what she was saying is that Twitter, there's 7,500 Twitter employees. Twitter employees are kind of fat, happy, and content, right? They're exactly in the be positive, leave me alone space where they don't want change. Twitter people want Twitter to be run the way Twitter has always been run. I love Twitter. Twitter is my go-to. If I had to pick a social network, only one social network, I would definitely pick Twitter. But what's interesting about Twitter is Twitter hasn't innovated the way Instagram has. Twitter hasn't invented the way TikTok has. Twitter hasn't expanded the way Facebook has. Like, when you put Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram up against one another pound for pound, Twitter lags. They haven't invented. They haven't evolved the format. They haven't converted. They haven't created ad products, content products, creation tools, partnerships the way that the other social media, the way that other social networks have. And so when I think about a brilliant entrepreneur coming in and owning a company, I'm excited because I'm like, God, that will probably create change. Twitter will need to innovate. Things will become open source. There'll be pressure to perform. And this debate over whether something's better as a public company or a private company, I think about this all the time. Who cares if it's public or private? What Twitter people should care about is Twitter becoming the best possible version of itself? Is it innovating? Is it exploring? Is it redefining what it is, what it means, and how it works? Twitter really hasn't done that. And I think the jolt to the system, whether Musk buys Twitter or somebody else buys Twitter, is going to be good for that company. But it's super interesting that the Twitter people don't want it. And I think that that's dangerous because if you have an employee base that's complacent and entrenched and frankly focused in the past, I think you're kind of fucked. So before we get into our next thing, let's just talk about Celsius. Celsius is an energy drink. I love Celsius. Why do I need an energy drink? One, I hate water. Why do I like Celsius? One, they have like a bajillion flavors. So they've got all sorts of flavors. I have sparkling orange today. I've loved the guava. They have a watermelon. They've got all sorts of flavors. They've got a version that has caffeine in it. So if you not only need an energy drink, but you need an energy drink with caffeine, Celsius has got that for you. The other thing that's great about Celsius is it's got vitamins. So if you want like a 3-for-1, you can get caffeine, energy drink, and vitamins, and hydrate a little bit. So go to Celsius.com and you can find stores near you that carry it. Or you can go to Amazon, you can go to Target or Walmart, and they carry Celsius as well. Get Celsius and live fit. All right, so we're on to the Q&A section. Here, we got 3 Q&As today. First one, how do you measure success at work? I generally only get a feel on my performance during the end of year or mid-year reviews, but I'm wondering if there's anything else I should be doing to figure out how I'm performing day to day. We actually had a big production meeting this morning where we talked about putting tigers with tigers and gorillas with gorillas and lions with lions, where people are organized. But the other reason we're doing that is people should have clarity on what their job is. They should have clarity on what success looks like, and they should have clarity in who their boss is and what their boss is looking for. I would say, to the earlier rant, we have not done a great job of this. I think we've been growing so fast, it's just like catch a tiger by the tail and you're just moving. But we're going to get better at that. So if you really care about being successful at work, have a decent sense of what the company cares about. So if you're asked, what does success look like for Barstool Sports? Right? If you work here, you say, what does success look like for Barstool Sports? One of the things I think I need to do a better job is to constantly articulate that. For us, it's growing audience. It's making great IP. It's maximizing our revenue in a diverse format. It's using data to be smarter and sharper and more efficient at what we do. And it's having a highly collaborative team environment. Like, those are our company goals. Yes, we have revenue targets. Yes, we have audience targets. Yes, we have engagement targets. But I want to try to do a better job here, for example, of making sure that everyone at this company understands what the goals are. So for you, make sure you understand like what the company cares about. Is it their stock price? Is it selling a certain volume of products? If you work for a public company, go read the financial materials. Like have a good sense at what matters for the company, and then drill down. Right? What does your division have to do for the company? What does your team have to do for the company? How do you fit into what the company wants to do? And then all the way down, by the time it gets to you, understand what you do, what that means for your group, for your team, for your division, and for the company. Get a one-on-one with your manager ASAP. Ask your manager bluntly, what does success look like for me? What is it you really value? What is the single highest purpose for me here? What is the single best output from my time at X company, right? What can I be doing to help you, to help the team, to help the group, to help the company succeed? Have answers for those things. Keep track of your own performance. It is your job to make sure you're keeping track of what you're doing and how that ladders up to what you should be doing or what your group or your manager or your company values. And then force the conversation. Maybe your company doesn't have like regular reviews or regular one-on-ones. Ask for an impromptu one-on-one. Pick up the phone and call your boss one afternoon and be like, hey, just wanted to check in. How are things going for you? How do you think things are going for me? Like take the initiative to ask for the conversation. It's your career at the end of the day. Your manager only cares about you in the way that you're going to help your manager and the company be successful. You have to be the single biggest advocate for your career, and understanding how you're performing should be something that you want, not that you just care about because of how somebody else feels or how somebody's going to evaluate that. So I would take initiative. I would understand things from the top to the bottom, and I would be proactive in getting a pulse check on a very frequent basis, let's say monthly basis in between. Okay, hi, this says. Do you have any suggestions for someone who's naturally nervous for interviews or public speaking? I'm extremely confident in my job, but when it comes to people interviewing me, it's like I'm a completely different person. Any suggestions or tips on confidence would be greatly appreciated. Ooh, this is a good one. I'm gonna have Tom Mullins help me with this one. One is, isn't it the worst when you get nervous and then your voice gets shaky and you're like, like, I hate that. That happens to everyone. That happens to me. There's like the Brady Bunch show where like, imagine them naked. Yeah. You can have like, imagine your audience or imagine your interviewer naked. The other thing is if you're getting intimidated by someone, just remember like they did something very average this morning. Like they put on their socks, they pooped. Do you know what I mean? Like the person you're interviewing with is a human, and they did something very natural and normal like you do. I think the other thing that you can do is sometimes I tend to ramble or like get caught in a tangent or space out. And sometimes it's great to just bring like a note card or like a piece of paper. Or if you're not great at expressing things in an interview, like orally, like if it's hard to speak it, maybe like you bring a sheet to guide you and you're like, hey, I just wanted to, share, here are some things that I've done, or I don't think anybody wants to read your resume in an interview, but give yourself some type of prop that can help you guide the conversation. To me, it's like you just got to get through the first 3 sentences and then it kind of goes from there.
I feel like it's very helpful, like at least if I were to be interviewing for a job in my field, it's something I'm very passionate about. So it's sort of easy for me to speak about something like that.
Yeah, that you care about.
So I feel like maybe you just have to remember that. If you're going for this job, it's what you want, So I feel like you better be passionate in the interview.
Passion overrides like polish.
Yeah, like if someone came up to me and started asking me about like some documentary that I started to make or something, I would be ecstatic to speak about that.
Talk their ear off.
Exactly.
The other thing is I think women kind of struggle with this in particular, which is you always make yourself, like you subjugate yourself to someone else or you make yourself inferior. Like you're great. You know what I mean? You're great. If this person thinks you're a fucking idiot and they don't hire you, like that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not great. That just means you and that person were never going to be a great fit, and that person does not deserve to be your boss. So like, don't make yourself diminutive. All right, third question. Erika, I'm stuck. Yeah, welcome to the club. I have no clue what my passions are What even is a hobby at this point? I want to make a career out of something I'm passionate about, but I'm not in a position to seek and gain experience for free, even though I know that's the best way to test out what I want. I also cannot spend another dime on schooling and don't even know how to figure out my next move. What do you recommend to someone in their 30s going through this? Whew, that's a lot. Okay, one is you've got to fucking be passionate about something. So if you don't know what you're passionate about, like, you got to take a TV timeout and reassess. Being passionate doesn't mean you're passionate about like lifestyle photography or fashion or sports or documentaries. Like, you can be passionate about helping other people. You can be passionate about getting tasks done and fixing problems. You can be passionate about a beautiful PowerPoint deck. You could be passionate about making Excel spreadsheets and having the numbers all add up at the bottom. I am not passionate about that. But the other thing I think about it is, one, stop spending money on schooling. Okay, so let's dig into this problem. One, don't spend any more money on schooling. Two is, if you're passionate about lifestyle photography, sports, fashion, whatever, like, stop focusing on just getting a job in that area. Change the focus, I think, of what you're passionate about. I think you are looking for like a big lofty answer, when in reality, to get unstuck, it's not one big giant step, it's like 50 little steps. So you got to figure out the little steps. Do you have a job now? Do you like that job? Do you want to stay in that job? If the answer is yes, then figure out what are the little things you can do to move to a better place in that company, or to advance your career, or to take a step up. If you don't have a job, then figure out what it is you actually like to do at work. Put aside the big lofty thing. Do you like to add numbers? Do you like to write? Do you like to read? Do you like to research? What are you good at work? Everybody's good at something at work. What are you good at? I'd also write what you're bad at and what you don't care about, because you should not pursue jobs that are really focused on things you're bad at or don't care about. The third thing is, you got to just take some initiative. You got to have conversations. You got to talk to people. You got to apply to jobs. You're going to get rejected from like 99.95% of them. All you need is one acceptance. But you've got to take some initiative. Like, the only way out of your inertia is action, and you should take some action. And then your path is going to lead, you're going to get on a path, and you're going to find your way. Maybe you take a job. Maybe you hate that job. That's okay. Now you know what you don't like. You can add something to the don't like bucket, and you can go find your next one. But I think the biggest thing is, don't get caught in the lofty things. Start small and take action. So speaking of taking small steps and making action, let's go. I think I'm great at mad transition, I'll be honest with you. But let's talk about Allbirds. So Allbirds is a footwear company. I have, I think, like 3 or 4 pairs of Allbirds floating around my house. One, they're very soft. They can go in the washing machine. They're made of all natural materials. They've got cool colors on them. Like, I like how they make like a brown with a teal blue, like great color combination. The pair I most recently got was the Tree Dasher 2, which is the next generation of running shoe. I'm going to be running 5 times this week in my Allbirds, so mark it, 5 times this week. But the other thing that's great about Allbirds is they're super comfortable. They're all natural, so you know that your feet are tucked into something safe and comfortable. You can wash them, so when your feet start to smell, I can wash my Allbirds. So I love that. Go to allbirds.com. That's allbirds.com. So if you want to get the Tree Dasher, or you just want to find your perfect pair, or you're tired of sweating without socks in shoes that you cannot wash, go to allbirds.com. All right, so we're going to kick it to Jeff Rader. Jeff Rader joins us, founded Warby Parker, founded Harry's. He's super modest, but reality, he's a pretty killer entrepreneur. He created 2 mega businesses. What I love about Jeff Rader is that he started 2 companies on like a very clear need and kind of an offhand conversation. He seems super approachable. We talk about how he hires people, how he fires people, how he thinks about culture. And I think you can learn a lot from it. Okay, so Jeff, this is a nascent, kind of messy, hot mess business podcast, but we love your story. We love the story of Harry's and obviously of Warby Parker. So for the benefit of everyone listening here, just can you give us a high level of your story? Launching a company out of business school is unique. Having it be as enormously successful as it was is unique. What you're now endeavoring to do in mental health is unique. So can you just give us your story?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff. Yeah, as you mentioned, my entrepreneurial journey, I guess, started when I was in business school. I was sitting around with some friends after class one day. I've worn glasses since I was very young. I don't have very good eyesight. And at the time I had an old pair of glasses that were literally being held together by a piece of duct tape because they're really expensive to get. It was really expensive to get new ones. And my prescription had actually changed and I just hadn't gotten around to getting new glasses. And one of our friends walked up to me and said, hey, what do you think of the idea of selling glasses online? And I was like, oh, like, I'm not happy with my glasses. Like, I would love a new pair of glasses, but they're so expensive. And another one of our friends who was sitting there was like, hey, I've been to the place where they make those glasses. They cost a fraction of that to make. The reason they're so expensive is because there are all these companies that kind of,
monopoly
have their hand in the cookie jar, for lack of a better term. And yeah, you could make glasses every bit as good as those, and maybe, even more stylish, not knocking your duct tape for less than $100. And if you did that, you could also do really good in the world. My friend who had worked in the industry had worked at a nonprofit that gave affordable reading glasses to people in the developing world, and literally helped them to see where they couldn't see before. And so we kind of had that conversation, then went off on our day. I got home that night. I couldn't sleep. I just kept on thinking about that conversation and that idea and the opportunity, frankly, for to make something that I personally would want more.
Yeah.
I emailed my co-founders at Warby Parker, the folks who ended up being my co-founders, emailed the guys I chatted with, and I said, hey, I can't sleep. This is a cool idea. We should do this. We're in business school. What else are we doing?
Yeah.
And they responded immediately, and they're like, we can't sleep either. This is exciting. And so pretty quickly, 4 of us got together and said, why don't we try to build and launch the company in school? We didn't know anything about how to do that, but
and who became what person? Of the 4 of you, who were you in charge? What were the skill sets you all brought to the table?
So that's a great question. We all kind of ran the company together, but divided and conquered. And so my co-founder Neil is amazing thinking about brand and the customer, and he'd worked in the industry before. He's the one who worked in the industry. So he had great relationships around sort of design of the glasses. I was really focused for a period of time on the web experience and how people could access our products online. And then after they bought the CX experience they had, because it was a little confusing for people to buy glasses online the first time. People didn't know. I got to tell you, one of the early calls I took at Warby Parker, there was a guy, older gentleman, called us. And he's like, I saw that article about Warby Parker on the Gentleman's Quarterly, and I'm trying to figure out what glasses I need. I got a ruler and I'm measuring my head. Can you? And I'm like, oh, okay, we got you here. So sort of the whole I experience, I think I was really focused on. And then one of my other co-founders, I think, had a really good sense of kind of where we want to take the brand, how we wanted to communicate the values in the world on social and other places. Another one of my co-founders was really, really good kind of operationally and thinking about how to kind of make the trains run on time. And so, but at the end of the day, we were kind of all doing it together. And that really worked for us to sort of start the business and get it off the ground. And it was helpful to have a group of us thinking about that as a group.
And are you all still close today?
Super close, which is the best part of it. I think for us, it's cool to see the impact. For me, it's such cool to see the impact that Warby Parker's had. We've given
it's incredible
glasses away and reached lots of people and tried to change the way that, people think about brands and have thousands of people on our team. And some of the early folks, it was, we had this amazing experience. Warby Parker just did a direct listing, went public a few months ago. And for me, the coolest part of it was to see all the people who helped build Warby Parker over the years come together and be there and celebrate this moment. And it was just gosh, I love these people. And it's been really cool to see how we've kind of all grown up together.
Yep. Do you think it was a moment in time? I mean, to me, I remember buying my first pair of Warby Parker glasses. They looked just like this pair of glasses. Like they were, but it was, I think I bought them for $1 or something.
95.
Yeah. And exactly $95. It was liberating because then I could buy I could buy 3 pairs of glasses for what a normal pair of glasses. But the user experience was so slick. And then I remember when you had, your first retail stores and they looked good and it was high end. And I also was like, you were one of the first brands from the internet that became physical. Now I feel that every internet brand has a plan to be physical, but it didn't feel that way with you.
Yeah. Gosh, I think that like, if you look at every decade in the last 100 years, probably great brands have been built, like really great ones. And some of them are still around and some of them kind of gone away, but for the time they've been built. Mm-hmm. And I think great brands are going to get built today and tomorrow. And gosh, lots of brands are getting built right now, which is exciting and fun. And some brands get built, someone's got a store and they just start selling out of their store and they get to meet all their customers. Then they open up another store and another store. And that's a great way to do it. I think for us, it was cool to get to start online and really get to understand who those people were and then try to kind of do what was right for them. And, I think it's interesting, when we started Harry's like, well, we're a DTC only brand. And then we're like, well, but it's pretty cool for us to be at like a bunch of boutiques and stuff. So we're primarily, DTC first. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, we built an amazing relationship with the folks at Target. We launched there as a huge part of our business. Yeah. It was great. And then we had the opportunity to bring Harry's to other places where people would also be happier that we were there. And we had all this like internal, I don't know, like we were wrestling internally with what do we do? What do we call ourselves? And I was like, at the end of the day, we're just customer first. Like we got to be where people
gives a shit what category are we?
How they want us to be there. And like people aren't like, oh, Harry's is DT first brand. They're like, I can buy at Harry's.com. I can buy at Target. I can buy at Costco.
And they're like, I need a razor.
Yeah. I want the price to be the same. I want to know about the quality and I want to be able to do all those things. And like, that's good. And so, back to Warby Parker, like the reason that we ended up building stores was when we started, we had home try-in inventory. So we'd send you 5 pairs of products at home and then you send them back to us. Well, we ran out because, we were so overwhelmed with demand. We didn't have any inventory left. And so people were emailing us and they were like, what do we do here? I want to try this. We're like, well, we have a set at our apartment in Philadelphia because we're a business school. If you want to come down, I'd be happy to have you over and we can try on some classes. People were driving from, a far distance to Philadelphia to come to our living rooms to try on glasses. So when we opened up our first office in New York, we had a showroom in our office and that showroom was like booked out for weeks. And then we opened up another office, we built a bigger showroom and that was doing great too. And so we're like, okay, there's clearly something here. Yeah. People want to be able to try on our glasses.
They want to touch the glasses, which I agree with. I think it's a product we need to touch.
For sure. So like, okay, let's build a store. So we built a pop-up to understand how called the Holiday Spectacle Bazaar. Yeah. And that was awesome. And then we built, our first flagship store on Green Street and off we went. But I think at every point in time, we just, had a perspective that like, it's good for people. And like,
that's right.
Yeah.
And why not be where they are? Yeah. Wait, so what brands do you love right now that aren't yours? Like what's a brand you love right now?
That's such a good question. One is a brand that I have loved for a long time. I'm actually wearing their shoes right now.
Let's see. Here we go, Jeff. What do we got?
They're Allbirds.
Oh. Okay, Allbirds. All right. Why do you like Allbirds?
Well, for a few reasons. One, I think the product's great. It is so comfortable.
Okay, got it.
And I'm wearing the Dasher, which also is, for me at least, the shoe that they have that I kind of like, I can jog in at least, move around, run around in. So I like that. And I think that their commitment to sustainability and the materials that they use
are good.
And how to think about that is really remarkable.
Okay, so sorry. So we move on to the razor business. So did a lot of people from Warby come to Harry's? Like, how'd that work?
Oh, it's just me. We, our teams have spent a ton of time together. And got to know each other, but I always felt like Harry's should sort of be its own thing. And, we should start it with our own mission and own customers and take all the learnings we have from Warby Parker. But one of my really close friends was in LA, and he walked into a store, and he had to wait for a while for someone to unlock the case where the razors were. What didn't feel great. Then he paid $25 for 4 razor blades and some shaving.
$700.
Yeah, and that felt like just getting taken advantage of. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why did I just end up doing that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then there was like a picture of a blade flying over the moon on his package. Yeah. And he called me. He's like, dude, I just had this experience. I love it. And it wasn't that like I had to pay $25, like whatever. Not that I want to just say that that's nothing, but like I paid $25 for lots of things in my life. But like, it was the fact that I just feel like I'm getting taken advantage of. That there is this company that is a big company in Gillette that is making a ton of money on me as a customer, and like that just doesn't feel good. And
that's right.
I don't know. I don't need a razor that has like lights and whirs and buzzes and spins. Like I just want a tool that I love to use every morning, a brand that I'm proud of, that shares my value, that's approachable, doesn't try to tell me that I have to be the best. Like just kind of meets me where I am, and delivers me really great products at good value. And could you take what you learned at Warby Parker and do it better here? We actually took a long time to launch Harry's because it was so hard to make good razor blades. We ended up finding a factory in Germany, just flying over there, customizing products for Harry's, buying the factory. Like it was a long.
Can I ask you a stupid question? Yeah. Is part of the reason the price? I remember reading that the number of factories that makes razors around the world is very small. Is that accurate? Okay.
Yeah, there's only a few people who can make great razor blades.
And do you think that people just felt like in the same way no one could compete with Luxottica or whatever the big eyeglass conglomerate is, that no one could compete with Gillette?
Yeah, people told us that. They're like, are you crazy? You're going to go compete with Gillette? Like, they're going to crush you.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you do that? I was like, well, because they're giving me a really bad experience.
Yeah, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, because they're not actually caring about who I am. And we would talk to these people and we'd be like, why do you, like, who used to be worked in the industry? And we'd be like, how do you think about charging $5 for razor blade cartridges? Like, it can't cost very much. How much does it cost? Like, well, we'll never tell you that. But $5 is just like what you pay for a latte. And I'm like, but I like my latte.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't like you for taking advantage of me. Yeah, exactly. And so I think it was just like, they let the business, I think, take control. Like they were like, we're just going to make as much money as we can and maybe not spend as much time really focusing on like what people want. And so we felt like we could kind of be the voice of the customer. But anyway, so what happened in our trajectory was we spent all this time trying to figure out how to make great razor blades because gosh, we couldn't deliver you cheap razor blades at a cheap price. No one wanted that. People wanted good razor blades at a good value. Price. And so, and then as while we're doing that, Dollar Shave Club launched.
Okay,
and
got it.
It's an amazing video. And we're like, ooh, like,
Thanks.
But I think they were kind of maybe more in at least the way that they came off to the customer was kind of more in the, hey, we can give you cheap razor blades. And we were like, no, we can give you really good razor blades.
Yeah, see, I think.
And we just happen to be good value, which is
correct. Which is a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference. So what do you think it is about you that makes you a great entrepreneur? Like, what do you think, what is it about you?
I don't know if I am. I think I don't really like rules very much. And so I think that's probably one thing.
Are you a workaholic?
I work a lot. Yeah. But I think what's cool about working in your own company is that you have a little bit more control of your hours. So when I worked in investing, you'd be working on a deal. If like you were kind of beholden to the timeline of the deal you were working on.
Yeah.
And if the deal was happening, like, and you had a vacation, like
it didn't matter. You're working on the deal.
But like I'm still working a lot and also thinking about Harry's all the time.
Yeah.
But I think at least I have a little more control over my schedule. And the way I almost think about it is like, I try to plan my life. I have 3 kids. I want to spend time with them, see our friends, like, and then work I try to fit work in against the things,
that makes sense. You've also started businesses with other people. Like, how are you a good team player? Like, what is it? Like, you seem very affable and calm and
thanks.
Nice. You just seem like a nice person.
Thanks.
Are you nice?
I don't know. I hope so. I try to be.
You seem nice.
You should ask people who I work with. I think people at Harry's would say I'm generally nice. Not always. I try to be. I think what's like really important there is to be able to talk a lot and give each other good feedback over like always. But I think really most importantly at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think be like clear on where you spend time and have a lot of trust. So I trust my Harry's co-founder, Andy, is an amazing person. Like, he's so thoughtful and smart and caring and like strategic and a good leader. Like, I trust him so much. And so, I mean, there were times we would joke, like, after we bought this factory in Germany because we wanted to make really good razor blades, and we had to add capacity there and help kind of bring this like New York startup and a German factory together. And that was complicated. So he was spending a lot of time doing that. And we would joke, like, I'd have no idea what was going on at the factory. And he would not even know it was on the homepage of our website. And we just kind of were able to put like on the big stuff where we had to connect.
We were so synced up.
We were synced up. And so I think we've found time to do that. And I think we've, over time, because we've just worked together so long and know each other so well, like, developed a shorthand where we can just get things done more quickly. Yeah. There's no pretense or BS or like, and like, I'll go into a conversation knowing exactly how he feels. Yeah.
Who fires people?
They're the manager of those people usually.
Okay. Are you good at firing people or no?
I'm not great at very difficult conversations always.
Okay,
I don't
that's
necessarily, but I have done it. I hope it's gone okay for those people. Look, I think when people end up not working out in a company, it's almost always because it's just not the right role for them.
Yeah.
Like, my general sense is that people try really hard. Like, they want to do a good job. And if you're a good leader and manager, like, you're trying to really find the good things that they're doing and encourage them to do more of those good things and help coach or grow them and other things. And sometimes you just don't get it right in the hiring process on both fronts.
Yeah, that's right. For them or for you.
Yeah, for them or for you. The person kind of is like, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
And they get in it and they're like, whoa, this is different than what I expected.
Yeah.
Or, you kind of learn as much as you can in the hiring process. But if you think about it, like, even for like leaders at Harry's, we'll spend tens of hours in an interview process and references and talking with them and getting to know them. And like, but like that is like very little in terms of the actual amount of time you're there.
Yeah, completely.
And so like, you try to get it as right as you can. And sometimes
you don't always get it right.
It's okay. Like, I think that it's like, okay, this just isn't the right role for you. Like, let's go find you the role that is in the world. Like, you're really talented at these things. Here's how I think about what you may have learned here and what we've learned. And like, let me help you figure out the next thing. Cause like, what you want and what we want is for you to be happy. And for Harry's to find the right person for this role that we need right now. So
that's great. That's great advice. Jeff, talk a little bit about, one thing that's so interesting about you is you clearly think about social good and sustainability is just like so core to both companies, but talk a little bit about what you're doing at Harry's and
mental health.
I think the mental health thing is so timely. So talk about that.
I've been thinking about it for many years. So, I felt when we started Harry's and Warby, like, it was so important to do good for all of our stakeholders, for the people on our team, for our customers and the community. And all of those things were critical to our success and success and feeling like we were doing good in the world.
And the fulfillment of what you were doing.
What we're trying to do. Like, our mission at Harry's is to create things people like more. Like, we should try to create a better world around us. Like, kind of like why at least motivates me to wake up. And so it's like, okay. So at Harry's, and what I learned at Warby is that social impact tied to the purpose of the brand is really important. Like, because it just works that way and people get it and like they rally around it. So at Harry's, I was like, what's our social impact going to be? We can't we could give away razors, but like, people have much more fundamental hygiene needs, like water, clean water,
and beards.
And so I was like, okay, what could it be? And so when we started Harry's, we sort of started spending time on, well, just helping people get ready for life. Like, we help you get ready in the day, help people get ready for life's challenges. We had sort of that. And then what was interesting was we reach out to every single one of our customers after they buy from us. We say, we're here for you. We love you. We want you to have a great experience with us. Tell us about anything, about you, your life in general, et cetera. And people would email us when we said your life in general, and we get these incredible stories from them, like
about their life in general.
And in some ways, shaving was, could be connected, but
not always.
And what was fascinating was that like guys just wanted someone to talk to. And as we kind of got into more, we realized like what a big issue mental health was for men. Suicide rates are much higher for men than others, and there's a lot around masculinity that's not like, hey, we shouldn't talk to anybody. Like, we're tough, we can handle it. And we had this saying internally at Harris, which I love, which is embrace the ands. Like, you can be confident and vulnerable.
Yeah.
You can be strong
Sensitive and strong.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like, those are good things,
Yeah.
And so, so we said, I think we have a real impact here. And so we started working with some amazing organizations, and we were putting up on our website, stuff like links to, like, we work with this great organization called Crisis Text Line. And we would say, hey, like, if you need any, help, here's a great organization you could call. Here's a kind of a short code to enter in. And we were seeing hundreds of people coming off our site calling Crisis Text Line because they were like, whoa, this is actual access to.
Yeah. And I need help.
Yeah. Like, wow. And so, we said, well, we could have real impact here. And so we've always committed to giving 1% of our sales to organizations that support the missions of our brand. And for the Harry's brand, we decided we're really going to try to make a difference and bend the curve of mental health.
Great.
And so we started working with some amazing organizations around projects to go do that.
Yeah.
We've reached over 1 million men with mental health resources. And we just launched this initiative. We're actually about not too long to announce, I think, the sort of winner, called Open Minds, where we're going to pledge $5 million to one idea that tries to bend the curve in mental health, that has like
Great.
real impact. With the idea that, like, we as a brand can have a big platform to talk to our customers about it. And we can sort of support organizations that are really doing new and innovative.
Yeah, you can breathe life into someone who can have greater good.
Yeah.
It's so interesting is we work, Barstool Sports is predominantly male. Our audience is predominantly male. Our employees are predominantly male. And there's something, I think what I love about what I'm seeing, at least in 20 and 30-year-old men, is that they are so much more willing to be vulnerable, right? Like,
Yeah.
The men who came before, men my age, are like, you're supposed to be strong and stoic and bury it inside. And to be fair, the women aren't that different. So there's something happening where,
Really?
hey, I need help. I'm in therapy. I'm struggling.
Really?
I have anxiety.
Really?
And the fact that you guys are helping that is amazing. Okay, tell me more about Shop Flamingo. This is cool.
So the brand's called Flamingo. We launched it in 2018. Ever since we started Harry's, people are like, when Sally's coming, and we're like, well, we're not going to call it Sally's, but we understand that there's a huge need in the women's space around hair removal. And it's not just shaving, because women have hair all over their bodies and their faces.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. And so we wanted to normalize that, like, that's completely normal. And then say, hey, if you want to, if you want tools to help remove hair, kind of how and when and where you want, we got you. And so we launched with razors and wax and other great products that, just around the idea that women's bodies have things that happen to them, like hair. They're completely normal. We got great solutions for them. We're going to deliver them to you, hopefully in like delightful ways at great value, like Harry's. And it's doing awesome.
I love that. Good for you. All right, Jeff, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Erika. I appreciate you too. Appreciate the time and thanks so much.
All right, circling back.
Okay.
What do we got?
Dunkin' has new makeup collection with, is it ELF or ELF? Cosmetics. ELF Cosmetics.
Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, inspired by donuts and coffee.
One is a lot of makeup does come in like donut-y kind of colors, right? Like I met with a WWE makeup lady who really rocked my world. I was like, I do not want to look like a WWE superstar. I want to look like Erika. But she was telling me about the color wheel and the colors that look good with eyes. And it's like all browns and stuff. So like shimmery is powdered donuts. I love powdered donuts.
So we love it.
We love it.
Peloton is raising subscription fees, but cutting the price of its bikes.
Okay, smart. I use Peloton all the time right now, and it's $12.99 a month, and I get as many exercises. Like I take all their exercise classes. So I for $12.99 a month, like I used to pay a trainer, or if I try to go to a class in New York City, it's $40 for one class, which I'm going to like poop out at like 10% in. So I'm not surprised. Do we know what they're raising them to?
Yes. So the all access subscription is going to go from $39 to $44. And then the bike is going to go from about $1,800 to about $1,500.
If I were Peloton, like I make the bike tread part of the business, like I diminish that and I make the content trainer subscription. Like if I'm Peloton, I'm making like you can pay $1,500 a month and have Emma Lovewell train you, make videos for you. Like, that's coming. So that, in that case, $44, that's what you pay for one class.
Right. It's not bad. Last one, Court ditches paywall to make its journalism accessible to everyone.
Well, that just means their paywall didn't work. But I think that's interesting. I read that in the Times this weekend.
Yeah.
I think there were 2 articles in the Times this weekend I thought were super interesting. Quartz is like, we went through the same thing. Subscription is not for everyone. I think the problem with a brand like Quartz is, like, I've really gotten into Apple News. I think the curation of Apple News is insane, whereby I can see Los Angeles Times, Washington Post, all the Condé Nast pubs, all the Hearst pubs. And like, Quartz is kind of in that bucket, and they're trying to build their own subscription off on the side. Like, nobody's wearing a Quartz t-shirt. Nobody's sporting the Quartz hat. Quartz doesn't have that, so I think that the idea of having a standalone paywall won't work. Get the merch. You can go to store.barstoolsports.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you to Tom Mullins, Feel Better Mackenzie. You can subscribe to our newsletter, which is called Things You Missed. That's barstool.link/TYM. And you know where to find us. So if you want to sponsor our show or you work for Dunkin' Donuts, you can DM us and we will respond to you directly. So thanks for listening.